Your grandmother kept a tin of olive oil next to the stove. Dark metal, slightly dented, refilled from a larger jug she stored in the pantry. She drizzled it on everything: bread, salads, fish, even soup. She didn't measure it. She didn't read labels. She just used the oil her mother used and her grandmother before that. What she didn't know, what nobody knew until recently, is that something in that oil was talking to her brain, through her gut. In 2026, researchers published something that changed how we think about olive oil. Not whether it's healthy, we knew that, but why it's healthy. And specifically, which kind. Because here's what the supplement industry doesn't want you to know. Not all olive oil is the same. The stuff most people buy does almost nothing for your brain. Only the unprocessed kind, the cloudy, peppery oil that burns your throat, actually crosses the gut-brain barrier. And scientists now understand the mechanism. The study was published in the Microbiome Journal in January 2026. It followed 656 adults for 2 years, one of the longest diet cognition studies ever conducted. The participants were between 55 and 75 years old. All were overweight or obese. All had metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, the works. In other words, this was exactly the population most at risk for cognitive decline, the group where any intervention would face the steepest odds. Researchers tracked exactly what kind of olive oil each person consumed, not just how much, but whether it was extra virgin, regular virgin, or refined. This is important. Extra virgin olive oil is mechanically pressed, cold, no chemicals, no heat. The olives are crushed and the oil is separated. That's it. Refined olive oil goes through chemical extraction, bleaching, and deodorizing. It strips out the bitter taste. But it also strips out the polyphenols, the bioactive compounds that do the actual work. The difference isn't subtle. Refined olive oil has almost no phenolic content. Extra virgin can have 300 milligrams per kilogram or more. But here's what researchers didn't fully understand until this study. The polyphenols don't go directly to your brain. They take a detour through your gut bacteria. The gut-brain axis is a communication highway. Bacteria in your intestines produce metabolites that cross the blood-brain barrier and directly influence how your neurons function. When researchers analyzed the gut bacteria of study participants, they found something striking. Extra virgin olive oil consumers had significantly more diverse microbiomes. And one bacteria kept appearing in the data: Adlercreutzia. Participants who consumed extra virgin olive oil had elevated levels of this specific gut microbe. The researchers noted, and I'm quoting here, that Adlercreutzia could serve as an indicator of the positive relationship between virgin olive oil consumption and preserved cognitive function. So the chain works like this. Extra virgin olive oil contains polyphenols. Polyphenols feed specific gut bacteria. Those bacteria produce compounds that support brain function. The cognitive testing was rigorous. Memory, attention, executive function, the ability to plan, organize, and adapt to new situations. All three were measured at baseline, and after 2 years, participants who consumed extra virgin olive oil showed measurable improvements across all 3 cognitive domains. The refined oil group, no significant change. This matters because it's not just about eating olive oil. It's about eating the right kind. The processing makes or breaks the benefit. Now, before we go further, I need to be clear about something. This was an observational study within a larger intervention trial. It's not a randomized, controlled experiment designed specifically to test olive oil types. That means we need to be careful about causation. People who choose extra virgin olive oil might differ from refined oil consumers in other ways: income, education, overall diet quality. The researchers controlled for these factors as best they could. But the gold standard, randomly assigning people to different oil types for years, hasn't been done yet. What we do know is that this is the first prospective study in humans to specifically analyze the role of olive oil in the interaction between gut microbiota and cognitive function. Previous research suggested Mediterranean diets protect cognition, but isolating which component, fish, vegetables, wine, oil was responsible proved difficult. This study narrows it down. The study was part of P-Haridimed Plus, one of the largest nutritional intervention trials ever conducted. Over 4,000 participants across Spain. Real-world dietary conditions. So, where does this leave your grandmother's oil? Looking pretty good, actually. Because what she poured came straight from the press. Cloudy, bitter, unrefined. That peppery sensation you feel at the back of your throat when you taste good olive oil? That's oleocanthal, one of the phenolic compounds that survives cold pressing but gets destroyed by refining. Here's an interesting detail. Oleocanthal has a similar anti-inflammatory mechanism to ibuprofen. Researchers discovered this when a scientist noticed the same throat burn from both substances. The researchers found that participants consuming higher amounts of extra virgin olive oil developed more beneficial gut bacteria overall, not just Adlercreutzia. The entire microbiome shifted toward diversity. Microbiome diversity is consistently associated with better health outcomes. More bacterial species means more metabolic functions, more resilience, more biochemical conversations happening in your gut. And those conversations matter. The gut produces over 90% of the body's serotonin. It manufactures neurotransmitters that directly affect mood, sleep, and cognitive clarity. So when we talk about a gut-brain connection, we're not speaking metaphorically. It's literal biochemistry. Your bacteria are producing molecules that cross into your brain and change how it operates. Alright, so what does this actually mean for you? If you want to give your brain the benefit, research suggests you might consider switching to extra virgin olive oil if you haven't already. Look for dark glass bottles. Light degrades the polyphenols. Check for a harvest date or best buy date. Fresher oil means more active compounds. The study participants consumed what amounts to roughly 2 to 4 tablespoons daily. That's consistent with traditional Mediterranean diet patterns. Not a drizzle, but a regular ingredient. One thing researchers recommend considering, use it raw when possible. Drizzled on vegetables, salads, bread. Heat degrades some of the phenolic compounds, though it doesn't eliminate them entirely. Store it in a cool, dark place. And here's a detail most people miss. Use it within a few months of opening. Those beneficial compounds oxidize over time. Quality indicators matter. You might look for protected designation of origin labels, single-source oils, or producers who list the olive variety. These tend to correlate with higher polyphenol content. Now, I want to be honest about the limitations here. This was a 2-year study with a specific population, older adults with metabolic syndrome. We don't know if the effect holds long-term or in younger, healthier people. And the mechanisms aren't fully mapped. We know Adlercreutzia levels increased. We know cognition improved. But the precise biochemical pathway connecting those dots is still being studied. What's compelling is the size and duration of the research. Over 600 participants, 2 years of tracking. This isn't a pilot study. It's one of the most rigorous investigations of its kind. And it fits with what we already know about Mediterranean diets. Populations that traditionally consume high-quality olive oil have lower rates of cognitive decline. This study helps explain why. If you're considering making this change, it may help to talk to your doctor first, especially if you're on medication or managing existing conditions. Everyone's body responds differently to dietary changes. What's interesting is that this isn't about supplements. You can't just pop an olive oil capsule and get the same effect. The whole food, the complete matrix of compounds appears to be what works. The researchers specifically noted that, unlike refined oils, extra virgin olive oil retains beneficial compounds that appear to support both gut diversity and cognitive performance. It's the polyphenols that survive cold pressing, the oleocanthal, the hydroxytyrosol, the oleuropein. These molecules feed specific bacteria, which in turn produce brain-protective metabolites. Here's a practical suggestion that experts often recommend. Consider extra virgin olive oil as part of a diverse, fiber-rich diet, not a standalone intervention. The bacteria need other foods to thrive too. Legumes, vegetables, whole grains, these provide the fiber that gut bacteria metabolize alongside the olive oil compounds. It's the combination that appears to matter. Your grandmother didn't eat olive oil in isolation. She ate it with bread she baked herself, vegetables from her garden, fish from the local market. The whole pattern worked together. The study found that memory, attention, and executive function all improved in the extra virgin group. That's not just one aspect of cognition. It's the full spectrum of daily mental performance. Memory helps you recall names and information. Attention lets you focus without distraction. Executive function helps you plan, adapt, and make decisions. Together, they define cognitive sharpness. And these are exactly the functions that tend to decline with age. The fact that a dietary intervention, something as simple as choosing the right oil, might protect them is genuinely significant. If this kind of research interests you, hit subscribe. We cover evidence-based health stories like this every week. And if you found this useful, a like helps more people find the channel. What strikes me about this research is how it validates traditional knowledge through modern science. Your grandmother didn't know about Adlercreutzia. She didn't measure polyphenol content. She just knew that good olive oil, the kind that smelled like grass and olives and burned a little on the way down, was worth paying more for. 2 years of research, 656 participants, and the conclusion points back to something kitchens around the Mediterranean have known for generations. The oil matters. The type of oil matters more, and the path from your plate to your brain runs straight through your gut. Your grandmother was right. She just couldn't tell you why. Now, thanks to research published in 2026, we're finally starting to understand. This content is for informational purposes only. Always consult your doctor before making changes to your health routine. I'll see you in the next episode.